check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Guys, it's Wednesday. Those of you who do not work in the sports talk radio business don't quite understand what that means. Shannon knows what that means. It's Wednesday. We earn our money on Wednesday.
And Wednesday is usually a tough day because we're done with kind of the reaction of the previous NFL week, but we're not quite at the preview stage yet. Preview really starts tomorrow, right? The hardcore preview.
Well, tomorrow we get a Thursday game, and so you get the injury stuff. We start hearing a little bit more stuff like that. But Wednesday, man, that is when people earn their money. In spite of my desire to put a stamp on this thing and mail it in, we're going to do the heavy lifting, baby. We are here for Thursday. And basically, I'd like to thank the good folks at ESPN.com because they put out that NBA rank. And there's nothing like a list to get us through, boy. Now, let me tell you this about sports talk radio production meetings. Everybody come up with their ideas, and after that, well, there's this list. Tell me more. Tell me more. I will read this list name by name. Coming up next, number 43 through however many we can get through. And if you're lucky, coming up next, number 40 through however many we can get through, because you're going to read them things as slow as you possibly can. So the good folks did the NBA rank. They do this every year. Shannon, we're up now to, number 31? That's where we got?
Yeah, we're up to 31. Yeah, we started at 100, so now we're at 31.
Now, yesterday we found out that Carmelo Anthony was ranked at 64 because y'all be hating on Melo, and Lonzo Ball was rated at 63, one spot above Melo. Melo thought y'all were hating, and once again, I can tell you, Melo sent a tweet about me hating, saying he wasn't in the top 10 in 2010. Ask yourself this question for real. Had you ever heard of me in 2010? Did you have any idea who I was? We talking 7 years ago, homie. Did you know anything about me? And no, you did not. Melo saw me on First Take. Right, this is back when it wasn't even like the way they do it now. This is when you just pop in for the 4 downs. Melo saw that and said, let's toast to the haters. And that's because I said he was top 10 but not top 5. Melo wish somebody would say he was in the top 10 these days, and Melo didn't like it. He gave, what was the quote, Shannon? You need the darkness to see the stars or something like that.
Got really deep about it. So I don't know if that's Stay Mellow or Hoodie Mellow, one of the two.
Yeah, but then apparently they started the revolution, right? Because then all the players like, yeah, man, I hate these rankings, man. Everybody hates these rankings. They hate these rankings when they so low on them. And then C.J. McCollum, I like C.J. McCollum. C.J. McCollum said that he thinks the players should rank media members because the NBA guys weren't here for the list, which, by the way, just so you guys know, more traffic. But anyway, put that down. Here is what C.J. McCollum had to say. We need to start ranking these week A journalists with descriptions of their strengths, weaknesses, and ability to make up sources. I'm a little disappointed, Shannon, that he did not make any reference to bums. That would have been a lot funnier if he had said that we was bums.
Had a funnier effect, absolutely.
When is it not funny for somebody to get called a bum? Because you know the thing is about calling somebody a bum? Bum is one of the few transgenerational insults. Old heads call people bums, young heads. Think about this. We call people in sports bums, even though we don't call people on the streets bums anymore because we are too sensitive to do that sort of thing, right? We do not call them bums, hobos, or anything like that anymore. But if you are weak in sports, we still call you a bum. I wish C.J. McCollum had come out and called people bums. I got to say, I really would not have a problem with those cats hitting us with our strengths and weaknesses and all of that stuff. I would kind of like to see what the list would be of the journalists as they describe their strengths and weaknesses. I wonder what it would look like also if some of these cats got to put together their own strengths and weaknesses, put together their own scouting reports. That's what we need to do. Every media member put together your own scouting report, and then send it to me, and I'll let you know if it's right. What would be on mine, Shannon? What you got? What you got on mine for weaknesses?
I don't know about that. I like staying employed, so we'll move on.
Yeah, I was thinking about myself, my weaknesses. Honestly, my weakness, man, I feel like I stop myself from reaching certain levels of greatness because I am held back by basically being so humble. Now, you think about that, man. Think about what I could get done if I wasn't so humble, if I wasn't so, just trying to lay back in the cut, not really trying to stand out and nothing like that, man. I'm just trying to come in, do my job, and leave. See, there would be my weakness.
Workman's attitude, huh?
I remember my brother once said that once. My brother once said this about himself. He was like, look, man, I don't know how you expect me to be humble if I'm this good. I'm joking, guys. No, I'm not. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. But this is like, in fairness to athletes, this is where I get where they're coming from, man. Somebody's always evaluating them, right? Like, it's hard enough for them that they live in this cutthroat world that they're in, but somebody is always evaluating them. And I imagine it does get old being on these lists and everything else. That being said, I feel like if you in the top 60 in a league of 450 players, man, we're saying good things about you, right? Like, I feel like, why are there not more people in the top 20? Because the top 20 only got 20 people. That's why. That being said, Shannon, you think C.J. McCollum feels a little better about it now that he made it in the top 30?
How that works. He almost made it. He's at 31.
Oh, he's at 31.
He almost made the top 30, but still, yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I wonder if he saw the first list and didn't see himself and thought he wasn't on the list at all. He's like, man, forget about this list. And then he looked up and saw himself and was like, I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? Everybody's entitled. Let me tell you who really doesn't like this, though. Musicians, man. Musical artists. You never know when it's going to be the one that's going to set them off. Like, they show up to the office with the tater when they do not like where they have been ranked or how they have been reviewed or something like that. Shad, you remember that phone call? Do you ever hear that one that Wale had with the dude from Complex because he was mad because Juicy J's album was on top of his?
Yes, I do remember that, yeah.
He was not having it, man. He was not having it. But very few of us exist in a space where we are evaluated in this context. I once had somebody call me up mad as hell about something I said, not even about him, just about somebody he was cool with. I mean, he was real cool with him, but somebody he was cool with called me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Low-key threatening. Low-key threatening. Nobody likes this, but I would like to see, like, a ranking of where the players would have the journalists. Because, I mean, like, straight up, a young cat hit me up yesterday, and he was like, look, I'm about to start covering the beat for the first time, and I was just wondering if you had any ideas, any advice, rather, which is pretty interesting because I have never covered a beat, so I don't really have any tricks I can tell you that. I was like, only thing I can tell you, man, the currency is trust. The currency is respect, right? Like, if you can put yourself in a way where people trust you and where people respect you, then you'll be fine doing that job. So when McCollum talks about the ability to make up sources, now the players do know who those cats are. That is the one thing. The players do know who's out here making stuff up. And, yes, there are people out here who make stuff up, right? Like, there are times you're like, oh, hold on, buddy, I don't know about that one. The players know who those cats are, and they got the right to not respect them because the reality is, man, somebody come out here and lie on their name based on the respect they get from whatever publication or whatever they worked at. Then your name is out there like that. Your name is done. So I would like to hear from the players, like, so who are the people you trust? You know what I mean? Who are the cats that you respect? I would love to know that. Assuming I'm one of them.
You in the top 100, Bo?
I feel like I should be in the top 100. The 100, like top 100? I think I should be in the top 100.
Now, I'd imagine, based upon McCollum's tweet, that he's just talking sports media.
I would assume.
Okay.
I feel like I should be. You think I'm top 100? Let's make a poll out of that. Is Bomani a top 100 sports journalist?
No, even better. Would you be higher than 64? If we did the top,
so basically, you're asking,
poll ranking,
am I the mellow? Like, that's what you're trying to figure out is, am I the mellow of this? That is I feel like I should be top 64.
But it's a follow question though. Like, who would you be which NBA player would you be if we were doing a media ranking? Because I don't really think you're mellow, but who would you be? I
mean, I'm just curious, Shannon. Is there any, like, multifaceted NBA player who has had immediate impacts when he has shown up places, was very good when he was very young and keeps getting older and hits his prime and continues to be good in spite of the fact that very often people fall off in moments like these? Does that sound like anybody? Also has a hairline that doesn't do the things that it should? Does that sound like anybody to you? Who does that sound like?
Wait a minute here.
Who does that sound like to you?
Wait a minute.
That doesn't sound like anybody to you? Is it familiar? Or, Shannon, incorrect. How about somebody really tall, really skinny, with a lot of range, the ability to take it to the hole when necessary, who very recently made a move into a new situation so that he could perhaps win championships? Got that quick release. How about that?
Has an affinity for University of Texas?
Boom! That's what I'm saying. Who else do I remind you of? I mean, given that, you can't say it now because he doesn't play, but if we were doing this list a few years ago, again, tall, kind of gangly, bald-headed, cocky with his just a little bit, and owns lots of Jordans. I wonder who that is. Hey, the Right Time is brought to you by Upside. Now say big on traveling. Get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. Upside.com. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, we got you guys calling in talking about why you quit football or when football quit you. Also, LeVar Ball making Magic Johnson's job hard. Find out how on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Pablo Torre of ESPN will join us next segment. Pablo Torre will join us at 4:30 Eastern. We'll find out if he is a top 100 journalist. Look at that on the ESPN Radio poll, by the way. Find out your vote. You know, if we did a journalist rank, would Bomani Jones make the top 100? And I'm telling you right now, if y'all ain't got me in the top 100, I can only assume that you're a hater, right? Like that. In fact, this is how I'm going to put it. If you don't vote me in the top 100, fine. Pass the phone to her and let her vote. Right. 888-729-3776. Hey, Top Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So we've been doing this thing that makes our jobs a whole lot easier, where we let you guys tell these stories about what made you decide that you were quitting football or what made football decide that it was going to quit you. Let us hit the phones and start with Gene in North Carolina. Gene, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, yo, Bo, man, you was a genius for coming up with this segment, man. These stories have been crazy. But look, my football story, football got a 2-for-1 on my story. 2 for the price of 1. So look, my mama let it be known at an early age I wasn't playing football. So I had me an instrument. She said, you want some Friday night lights, you can join that band. So I was on the marching band. So I went to high school in Charlotte. We was playing a school called Independence High School. Don't know if you heard of them.
Yeah, they're good.
Six straight state championships, all that good stuff. In our school, we wasn't really good at football, and they didn't really have a really good band, so we didn't go to that game. It was at Independence, so the band didn't go. But all weekend, I keep hearing about, yo, man, CJ got rocked. I'm like, oh, man, that's messed up. So we get to school Monday. I'm kicking it with the basketball coach. I was at one of those type of schools where the basketball coach was also like the football coach. So I'm kicking it with him, and he showing the tape of the hit of the game. And they play it in slow motion, man, and this is so crazy. So it's a punt, and he's just kind of out there. The punt's kind of wobbling around, so he's just kind of out there, just not paying attention to what's going on. And we play the frame by frame. You see one frame, you see my man there. He got his maroon helmet on and his white jersey, and nobody's around him. Next frame, literally, now there's a yellow Independence helmet and a green jersey in place of his body. And you kind of see my man's arms just somewhere in between the mess. And then next frame, my man is gone. And that was it. And when I tell you that boy never played football again after that day, and then me watching that film let me know, oh, so that's why my mama didn't let me play. Cool. I got my instrument. I didn't play. I learned all I need to learn watching that video. My man's never played again, and that was the day football got 2 people for the price of 1.
Hey, Gene, man, I appreciate the call, Shannon. I told you about my brother watching that game with my mom on the sideline, and then they were walking home, and she looked at him and said, I think I would just be in the band. Now, here's the thing about football, right? This is an innocent story that came across. Canadian Football League announced no more full contact practices. Like, effective immediately, the Canadian Football League is not going to have full contact practices. There's a problem, obviously, there, which is Have you ever looked at a team that doesn't really practice, like, contact stuff? Like, I remember when Texas had that damn defensive coordinator that let a one-legged quarterback from BYU run on them for 700 yards. And one of the things that people said, and I don't know if this was the problem, was that he used what they called a thud technique, where you, like, hit the dude, but you don't hit the dude in practice. And that was one of the worst tackling teams that I've ever seen. You see a lot of people talk about how the tackling in the NFL isn't as good because they don't practice tackling nearly as much in practice. Like, if you're going to play football, you need to practice playing football. The small problem is football is so damn dangerous that it is not safe to practice. Can you think of anything else in this world where it is not safe enough for you to do on a recreational basis, but you still do it anyway? Like, that's where we are with football. That's the thing. It's so dangerous that we basically say the only time it is safe to play football is when the game counts. Otherwise, we say it's not safe. We don't think it's worth it to have people play in preseason games. We don't think it's worth it to have people play in practice. We only think it's worth it to have people play football in the games that quote-unquote count, which are the games where people make money and you get your most entertainment out of them. That's it. So, logically speaking here, how can you make the argument that football is safe enough to play under the bright lights if it's not safe enough to play under the dim lights in practice? Like, just a thought. Like, that's what we do. That's the game that we indulge in, right? And look, I'm here, man. I have come to grips with this. There's a lot of people that's out here deciding that they're going to boycott football. I'm going to be real with you. I ain't going to get a job that pay this much money anywhere else. I'm going to be watching this football every Sunday and bringing it right to you. Does that make me a sellout? Psh. All right. Be that. It's what it is. I'm still watching this football, I readily admit. But let's be real about what it is. We keep talking about how it is that we going to make a safer cigarette. Okay, we get that. You're not really going to be able to make the safer cigarette. But in the end, if you decide that your game is not safe enough for you to act like you're playing it, is it safe enough for you to actually play it? Now, I want to see what happens with the CFL on this, because if the CFL still has decent quality of gameplay, then this might catch on. I don't see how it's possible to still have quality of gameplay without tackling in practice, like without some level of tackling. I don't see how you manage to do it. But Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, by the time the end of the season come around in football anyway, they're not doing practice, like contact in practice, because everybody hurts too much.
Absolutely, and you don't want to risk further injury by that point.
Once again, we're not going to play football. Why? You might get hurt. Okay. So don't practice playing football because you got to play football later. But I thought you said I might get hurt. Yeah, that was different. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's get one more story about somebody when football quit them. Let's go to Dan in Iowa. Dan, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo. Love the show. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, man.
I was going to tell you about the story when football scared my career to death. So as an 8th grade starting halfback, knowing that going into my freshman year of high school I was going to be starting, I watched the last game of the season the year before and watched my person I was going to be replacing get absolutely demolished by a little town next to us called Appleton and Parkersburg. And if you follow football close enough, a lot of NFL people know a lot about Appleton and Parkersburg because they brought 4 people to the NFL in 1 year when the town is like 500 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my freshman year. Would have been being introduced to Aaron Campman, Casey Wigman, and 2 DeVries brothers that both played for Iowa.
Ooh, that doesn't sound fair.
Knowing what I was in for, that was the last game I played as 8th grade.
You didn't even go to the game.
Nope, I quit without ever being hit.
I told you, man, I appreciate the call. We were lining up in 7th grade to get equipment. My best friend had the courage I did not have. He looked at him and was like, can I be the water boy?
He was preemptive with his. He was like, yep, nope, I don't even need to get hit to make this decision.
Right, I have nothing to prove to y'all. Nothing at all. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, got my man Pablo Torre. Find out where he ranks himself among the best sports journalists, like C.J. McCollum said we should do. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. If you travel for business, you know it's a game of wins and losses. Open seat next to you on your flight, it's a win. Person in front of you reclining that seat, it's a loss. Buying your business trip at Upside.com. Dude, that's not just a win, it's a triple win. Win number 1, Upside has the absolute best available prices for flights, hotel, or rental cars. Win number 2, Upside will reward you with a gift card to places like Amazon.com every time you buy a business trip. And number 3 is the amazing 6-star treatment from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. Upside navigators are instantly accessible 24/7 on the Upside app, even reaching out to you to help you avoid a problem before it happens. And I'm going to start your Upside 6-star treatment right now. Go to Upside.com and use my code BOMANI, and you'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. That's code BOMANI for a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com when you buy your next business trip at Upside.com. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line, just like our next guest. Works at ESPN the magazine. Check him out on Around the Horn. Also, January 2nd, 2018, a new television show will debut. It'll be me. It'll be him. His name is Pablo Torre. Pablo, CJ McCollum said that instead of having an ESPN rank for NBA players, that there should be a rank for weak journalists. You are like me. You're here for this.
I demand this. Like, one of the great things about the world we live in is that you realize what counts as objectionable controversy and what counts as super fun controversy. Like, there was once a time, Bo, I think, when I would have looked at the ESPN rank and the ensuing controversy and said, man, that is cheap and that is an affront to smart people who like to have smart conversations. And now I'm thinking to myself, man, I long for a time when this counted as controversial. Like, this is the tabloid sport that I want to retreat into when the real world gets sad. I want to debate whether I am number 37 on CJ McCollum's big board, because that is the kind of pro wrestling argument that actually is fun.
I'm kind of here for it just because I'm petty, right? Like, I feel like I would rank pretty high. I feel like I do pretty well with that demo, right? Like, I think I could do okay.
So wait a minute. So you're in favor of this simply because you feel like you get on to the page of the power rankings that gets revealed last. You think you're going to be in the top 10, so you feel good about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been out here by now, I don't think. That's where I feel. I mean, where do you think you would be?
I feel like I deserve to be top 10, but at the same time, I feel like one of the things we're going to learn about this exercise, which we are gradually now forcing and bullying CJ McCollum into executing, is figuring out who these guys actually read. Like, I don't know. That's the other fascinating part of this, is like, who is a big name to them is different than I think a lot of journalists perhaps own power rankings. And that's fascinating because one of the things we know, Bo, and one of the reasons why I want to retreat into this controversy and into this sport specifically at a time when the world seems kind of crazy, is that it's reassuring that NBA players are super sensitive about what journalists think about them. I like that there's this weird symbiotic relationship where both of us, both sides of the aisle in this, can actually come together, have a debate about our self-worth, and emerge at the end of the day largely laughing about it. That, to me, seems delightful.
We're talking to Pablo Torre of ESPN the magazine, and I understand you saying that you think you would be top 10, but I feel like, young fella, you need to wait your turn. You got some people that you got to wait behind before you wind up getting there.
Wow. This is like the time when, first off, how long do I have to wait? Because I'm like turning 32 this month. I feel like my expiration date as a young guy. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said that, by the way. Should I not have revealed that? Should I be saying that I'm like 25 and a half eternally?
You can be 25 as long as you want, honestly. People won't have any ability to guess your age for a number of reasons that might get me in trouble to spell out. I'm just telling you that people will not be able to guess your age. I'm just telling you right now, man, I think you need to wait your turn. Now, your boy, I'm top 10. I'm top 10.
But let me ask you this. So in terms of sports, right, is there any sport that has just like the roster construction that would enable an equivalent list? Like one of the reasons why I think these NBA players get all agitated about this is because there's kind of a logic to a big board ranking of all the players in the league. Like you can say bigs need to be their own category, right? Like big men should be their own, but increasingly in the league, like we're finding there's a flattening across positions. So when we get to the debate about who's top 10 in the NBA, like I feel like that's a discussion that you can't really have as well in the NFL or Major League Baseball or anywhere else.
Well, here's my question. Do they do this in hockey, right? Like, do hockey fans sit around wondering about who's top 10? I don't know what they do over there.
I don't know if they do. I will admit that I follow far fewer hockey Twitter accounts, hockey player Twitter accounts than I do NBA player Twitter accounts. But one of the things like that, I think Devin Booker, I was reading one of those roundups of like all the NBA players who are responding to this. One of the great things is that you realize, pretty much everybody is on Twitter in the NBA. But the second thing is Devin Booker was talking about how, we're ranking people like this is high school now. And my answer to him, very diplomatically, but earnestly, is yes. Yes, we are in high school. This is look, ESPN could have made a series of TV specials in which they roll out the list, they bring out players, they bring out other authorities to discuss. And at the end of the day, maybe this feels kind of pro wrestling-y, but it kind of, like, I pivoted on this. I used to be a guy who's like, no, there must be a rational, objective answer, and this is not the form in which to achieve that. But now I'm like, this just seems like exactly the antidote that I need, because you can make fun of journalists when we're ranking NBA players, and I don't feel bad about society when it's in the context of basketball.
But see, here's where I get on these NBA players on this one is where I understand they get tired of being evaluated like this, but ask any of them, they top 10 MCs, and they got to answer, right? And how many of them can rap?
Right. I feel like, and it's becoming even more brazen, right? Like, I don't know if it's surprising that Lonzo Ball was, basically being heretical when it came to his own rankings in terms of who qualifies as #real hip hop or not. But I feel like, yes, that's another thing that's guaranteed to basically create traffic for any outlet that pursues that.
Well, hold on, though. You know who would be number one on the journalist power rankings among NBA players, right? I give you a hint. I used to work with him.
There's a middle initial right in the center of that.
No. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about a dude that I used to work with on a daily basis.
Oh, Poppy?
Yes.
Poppy does. You know what?
That's number one right there.
The Venn diagram, right? If you're looking for a Venn diagram that somehow unifies both, let's say, Kevin Durant and Art Briles, the center of that Venn diagram in terms of fandom is Gonzalo Levitar.
Yes. That is it. Like, that's going to be the number one guy. We're all playing for second behind Poppy. We're talking to Pablo Torre here of ESPN, the magazine. By the way, is there any sport thing that you want to talk about? We got about a minute.
Not especially, but I guess I would ask you, like, what should the categories be for ranking journalists? Like, are we going to break it down into some sort of statistical stuff, or is it just kind of an overall respect ranking?
That's a very good question. Like, I'd be curious to know, like, how the players would vote. Like where would Woj be for the players, right? Like, I'd be very curious to know that. Where would he be for the players?
I heard Kevin Durant talk to Simmons on that podcast, the most recent one, and he was saying that he reads Woj to find out what's going on in the league. And by the way, this is also a world in which my friend Luke Wynn, who writes college basketball for Sports Illustrated or used to, just got hired by the Toronto Raptors. Like, one of the things that we're realizing is that journalists covering basketball are authorities not just to the readers and to fellow journalists, but also people in the sport. And that makes this sort of insane exercise maybe more legitimate than I thought.
All right, now that's Pablo Torre, a sub-top 10 journalist, unlike you, myself, here. Check him out, ESPN, the magazine, and perhaps January 2nd, 2018 on ESPN with your boy.
Also receiving votes in that top 10. That's what I want.
There we go. Get your weight up, homie. I'll holler at you soon. All right, now, The Right Time is brought to you by Upside. Now say big on traveling. Get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com, Upside.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pinzone Performance Line. Thanks to Pablo Torre of ESPN for joining us last segment. Ken Fahey, presnapreads.com, and ESPN will join us next segment. Next hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. The Right Time is brought to you by Select Quote. Free personalized quotes in just 10 minutes. Call 1-800-290-0303 or go to selectquote.com. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. We're letting y'all call up, tell about them stories. You tell us stories about that time you decided to football. Nope, I'm not doing this anymore. Let's talk to Dwight in Alaska. Dwight, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Hi, Bomani. Hey, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the show, man.
No problem, man.
Yeah, so ninth grade, I was a third-string tight end, and they were shorthanded on the defensive line, so they decided to switch me. Second practice into the season, running back, about 5'10", 200, James Haltewanger. I'll never forget his name, man. He come around the outside. I came through. I thought I had him in the backfield. Coach told me to get low. He got lower, hit me right between my shoulder blades, and I was out for about 2 minutes. I was sucking wind, didn't know I couldn't breathe, didn't know where I was at. I got up off the field after when I came back to it, said, "Nah, man, this ain't for me." Took my helmet off, pads off, called my mom and dad, said, "Come pick me up," and that was it. Started playing basketball.
Well, let me tell you this, man. I appreciate the call. There's nothing quite in life like the first time you ever got the wind knocked out you. Shay, you remember the first time you got the wind knocked out you?
The look on your face, like everything, like your whole life is flashing before your eyes. Like,
you have no frame of reference on what you're supposed to do. Like, what's the problem? I can't breathe. Right? And then all of a sudden you can, right? But you, ooh, that's the worst. That's the worst. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's hit the phones and talk to Pete in Texas. Pete, thanks for calling the Right Time.
What's up, man?
All right.
I listen to both podcasts, big fan. So I went to Jacksonville, Texas my freshman year. That's not far from Palestine where Peterson went, not far from Tyler. And so we were on a punt block. I was on the punt block, and I went inside, try to block the punt. And I got hit. I got ear-holed, though, Monty. Ear-holed by a guy named Jamie Hightower. He ended up going to Texas A&M as an offensive tackle. I didn't know what happened. I go to the sidelines, I'm like, "Are you okay? You okay?" And apparently I got ear-holed and helicoptered like John Elway against the Green Bay Packers. And I had no idea. I don't know if I was out or not, to be honest with you. I just know I went to the sidelines, didn't know anything of it. So I played for another week, and I remember they called drills. And like everybody, they had like, you could just come out if you wanted to. And I just sat there on a knee, helmet on the ground. I'm like, basketball, baseball, and track. That's what I'm about.
Like that, you realize you're a certain type of person in those moments.
Yes, you do. And I knew it. And I was like, okay. Because my buddy lived across the street. He quit football and played basketball. I was like, well, maybe I'll check it out. And that's what I did.
Hey, man, smart play, man. I appreciate the call. Shannon, that was Dwight, right?
Dwight, yeah.
It said Dwight?
That was Dwight. That's what he said his name was.
Even in Alaska, didn't see that. I wasn't in Alaska. The other guy was from Alaska. Yeah, no. Was that the Dwight you expected? I did not expect Dwight to be more like Tim Dwight. You remember Tim Dwight?
Yeah, deceptive.
Yeah, I wonder how many times Tim Dwight showed up. He was like, "What's your name?" Dwight. And then he got done. Like, who was that? Dwight? Dwight fast as hell. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Shannon, who was playing Thursday night? Is the Texans and who?
Bengals, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Ah, yes, the Texans and the... Ooh, Shannon, I feel like that's not... You don't want that to be the only game that's on TV because we're going to turn that on and be like, yo, why does every quarterback in this league stink? Like, if a Martian drops off to watch that game, what are they going to think about the quarterbacking situation in the league? What would they be for them? What would there be for them to believe? Because tomorrow, Shannon, we're going to have to try to act like that game is something because what else are we going to do?
The biggest thing, I guess, the storyline still with that game is, well, who's going to be starting for Houston? Because it looks like it's going to be Deshaun Watson at this point.
Well, Deshaun Watson's like, Coach, I don't really want to start. My ankle is still tender. Like, I just can't imagine being like, so why are you the starter? Because we think you can run for your life.
Let's not forget, we don't know the status of the Texans' tight ends at this point. Because
right. Like, are they having a tryout? Like, everybody in town between 240 and 260 pounds come to town? Like, all three of their tight ends are in the concussion protocol, and they put Fedorowicz on the IR, so he's out for at least 6 weeks. They don't have a tight end. They got to go run and shoot. They're going to bring Warren Moon in to play quarterback, and he's going to get out here and run and shoot. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Let's talk to Daniel in Chicago. Daniel, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what's up, Bo?
Doing all right?
I appreciate you taking my call. Love the show.
Thank you, man.
I want one of those T-shirts when I'm done because I'm going to have the best story you heard yet.
Okay.
All right. So, junior year, I get hit. I play in safety. I hit someone. I basically dislocate my shoulder.
Ew.
Ends my season. My mom tells me no more football. I sneak back onto the team for spring practices. My mom gets off at 4:30 p.m. Normally, practice is over by 3:30. I guess we went a little long. I look up, and one of my teammates is like, hey, your mom's on the field talking to coaches. My mom has her slipper in her hand, threatening to beat the coach and me if I don't get my butt off the field. It ended my football career and my high school life.
That'll do it. Hey, man, I appreciate the whoo. Yikes. Miles with the slipper in hand. They don't want the problems, though. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, we'll let you know why T.O. better get comfortable waiting to get in the Hall of Fame. ESPN Radio.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So, we got our list of the first-year Hall of Fame nominees for the NFL. Now, Shannon, we don't have a list of finalists, right? We're not that far in the process.
Not the finalists, but just a list of the first-year eligible guys for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
All right, now this became a little bit of a thing because Steve Smith was on that list, and people were a little surprised to see Steve Smith on the list, and they thought that it was an error that Steve Smith was on the list because Steve Smith just retired at the end of this season, but they already forgot about New York Giants legend Steve Smith. Shannon, does Steve Smith not have a Super Bowl ring with the Giants?
He does have a ring with the Giants. That is correct.
See, there we go. They trying to big up your team, man. Try to give some props to those rosters. But yeah, he ain't getting into no Hall of Fame. Now, the 3 first-year nominees that will jump off the list will be Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, and Brian Urlacher. Those 3 guys are first-year nominees. You almost got to feel a little bit bad for Rondé Barber because I think Rondé Barber is eventually going to get into Hall of Fame, but it ain't going to be this year. No, sirree, Bob. And so we got other finalists from last year still coming back around. Got Isaac Bruce, Kevin Mawai, Tony Baselli, Joe Jacoby, who Washington fans, they've been trying to beg Joe Jacoby's way into the Hall of Fame for so damn long, man. Y'all barely got Art Monk. Y'all don't get no damn Joe Jacoby. Alan Faneca, Shannon, I just be taking somebody's word for it. I don't know what a guard got to do to get in the Hall of Fame. Do you? John Lynch. Okay. John Lynch and Brian Dawkins, they are on the list. Ty Law, Don Coryell, and Terrell Owens. T.O., they ain't never going to let you in the Hall of Fame. I mean, one day they're going to let you in the Hall of Fame, but it sure feels like they're never going to let you in the Hall of Fame. Look, if they brought out a list of Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, or Brian Urlacher, they're telling T.O., don't even get your hopes up this time, buddy. Like, there's no reason. Do not get your hopes up this time. No, you are not going to wind up getting in. But let me ask you guys a question about Randy Moss in this Hall of Fame. When did you guys decide that you liked Randy Moss? Because some of us have been Team Moss for quite a while. I noticed this. Granted, he works here now, so when they put him in the Ring of Honor in Minnesota, we did a big thing about it and all this. But, Shannon, I don't know if you've noticed this, but people aren't down on Randy Moss the way that they used to be down on Randy Moss. Like, you could hear the way people talk about Randy Moss right now and forget that he was a totally polarizing figure while he played football.
Like, it's funny now, for a group of people, the term straight cash homie is endearing now.
All of
it's funny
it.
how that works.
Right, straight cash homie is endearing. We have forgotten about the time that he hit the meter maid with the car. It's almost like they've forgotten to make all of this is gone. Like somehow along the way, people looked up and realized, maybe we were overreacting just a little bit when it came to Randy Moss. And now everything's okay, right? Like now we all love Randy Moss. I don't know when that happened. I guess that happens occasionally with certain players. Ted Williams, it took a little longer in baseball, but they got to a point where people forgot that they hated Ted Williams. His relationship with the media didn't wind up being a thing. And maybe I think that's what happens with a guy like Moss, is so much of the way he was covered had to do with his sometimes awkward relationship with the media who covered him. Now the lens through which we view Moss is less through that media than it is through just what we remember, what we saw. And now for us, recollections of Randy Moss are recollections of joy. That's all it is. And there are no moments. Like you think about this, though, with Moss, other than the mooning thing in Green Bay, which I don't think anybody really thought was a big deal but Joe Buck, you don't have those things with him like you had with Terrell Owens. You don't have it like you had Terrell Owens in the fight with Donovan McNabb. Not the fight, but like the thing with Donovan McNabb. You don't have a thing with Moss like intimating maybe that one of your former teammates was gay. You don't have any of those things with Moss. Like I think that people really look back with Moss and everything was ultimately benign. And with T.O., dude, they just hate that dude.
And now also with this younger group coming up now, when they search Randy Moss in YouTube, nothing but outstanding highlights.
Yeah, but I guess what else would there be for T.O.? I guess sit-ups in the driveway could potentially get up there. And I want to be clear. T.O. is a no-brainer Hall of Famer. The idea that T.O. has not gotten in the Hall of Fame and the idea that there's some dorks out here who are just keeping T.O. out of the Hall of Fame because they can. Yeah, you're dorks if you're doing that. It's ridiculous to me. He should be in. It's just not going to happen anytime soon. So we will get the Randy Moss Hall of Fame speech, which will be one of our country Hall of Fame speeches of all time. And we will get the Ray Lewis Hall of Fame speech. And I don't know about you, but I'm sweating already thinking about that one.
So it's a no-brainer that Ray Lewis will be going last this year, right? His speech will be last.
I would assume so. And so do they have like a special summertime Beijing? Does anybody know? Like, I've never used the Beijing myself. Do they have a summertime Beijing? And I asked if they have the summertime Beijing, because otherwise, Ray Lewis is going to be looking like John Randall by the end of his speech. As hot as it is when they do that Hall of Fame ceremony and all that Beijing that Ray Lewis got to rock out there, Ray Lewis is going to be out here looking just like John Randall, the ultimate warrior.
He better have a black handkerchief.
Got to. You had a white handkerchief and just go tell on him. Completely and totally tell on him. Like, if he out there with a white handkerchief, he put it in his pocket and pull it back out, it's going to look like a pin exploded in his pocket. That's all that is. Like, you remember when Ray Lewis had to start wearing those hats? Because they had Ray Lewis sitting at the desk all the way to the side. And the problem with that was you got that sideways angle, and you got to realize just how much faking of funk Ray Lewis was out here doing, just how much Beijing. Like, how much Beijing did that have to be in order to make it happen? So then next you know, Ray Lewis had to come out here wearing those fedoras. And I feel like once you decide to wear the fedora, you can't wear the Beijing, because otherwise the inside of your fedora be all blacked up. Ray Lewis put his thumb inside that bad boy and put a fingerprint on the back of a check in case he can't remember he ain't got an account at that bank. That's what he's got. And Brian Urlacher out here faking. He's still out here wearing the plugs.
But in his defense, at least he's up front and very public about his faking.
He is. Yeah, I mean, he has no choice. You might as well own it. We know you ain't had that hair. And some of you guys may not know this, but Brian Urlacher started shilling for some hair plug company, right? And so his hair is all full and lustrous right now. And one day, that company sent me an email and asked if I would be interested in participating in the same program that Urlacher was in on. If I was willing to endorse it, then I would also get to use the program. And I'm sorry, man. I felt like they wanted me to go out like Karl Malone. You remember when Karl Malone used to do the Rogaine commercials? And Karl Malone come into the barbershop and sit down. Mailman, you got hair. And I just wanted to know where this barbershop was in Salt Lake City where the mailman was getting his haircut. Has anybody ever bothered to find that out? Because back in the 80s, Karl Malone was out here with like some decidedly 80s haircuts, right? All the pomade, right? He had a lot of Duke going on there. Where in Salt Lake City did they know how to properly apply the Duke to get him the haircuts that he had back in the 80s? You got an answer for that? Then he just got to a point where he had to go ahead and cut it off. And I feel like for the Rogaine people, that was a real indictment of what they had going. Because I figured he should have just been able to keep it cracking from then on out. For Karl Malone to give up after starting with the Rogaine, I didn't feel like that was a real testament to the road game. But if they had the Beijing back then, I bet he would have been out here. Karl Malone would have been Beijinging it up, dripping down his face the whole way. Or would it be like the Carlos Boozer Beijing experiment? You remember that? Carlos Boozer put all that Beijing on, and he couldn't wash it off.
Didn't y'all ask him about that on HQ?
We did, and he said he was so shook coming to the game with it because he knew he was going to be playing the Celtics, so he knew KG was going to give him the blues about having all that Beijing. So, yeah, Ray Lewis going to have Beijing dripping all the way. Ooh, Shannon, they got to put, like, plastic over his jacket so the Beijing don't stain his jacket? Like, is that what they going to have to do for Ray Lewis? In fact, y'all going to bring that up, too. Y'all going to put somebody in the Hall of Fame out there with performance enhancers in his hair. How you not going to do that? They ain't never say I killed nobody. He's going to say that, too. We know T.O. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys telling us about that time that y'all decided y'all didn't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phones and talk to Sean in Los Angeles. Sean, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what it do, Bomani?
What's going on?
What it do, Bomani? So, coming to my senior year, I was maybe a top 20 DB in the city of L.A., and I was playing against a school, and they was at the 2-yard line. And for some reason, I knew the play. So they faked to the running back left and tried to throw a slant. I picked that sucker off, man. I thought I had a pick six running down the field like Deion showing out. Next thing I remember was waking up on the sideline because I guess the running back came around and cleaned me out. Ran me down all the way down the field and cleaned me out. And then the running back happened to be Steve Smith.
Ooh, yeah. He seemed like the type that was hitting extra hard in high school.
Oh, man. And then we went to I went to a junior college after. And he remembered me. It was so embarrassing, man. I said, I don't play football no more. I'm sticking to baseball.
Hey, man, I appreciate the call. Shannon, we got a verdict on that guy?
Ooh, that one's up in the air. That can go either way.
He started with the what it do, but then he ended playing baseball.
The jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, if I remembered his name, I put it up on the poll. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you can save. Coming up next, we got your phone calls. Tell about that day that quit football quit you. Also, Kevin Durant. I mean, shouldn't he get over it? Find out what I mean on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Key and Fahey will join us next segment. Key and Fahey will join us at 5:30 Eastern. See what the film's talking about from week 1 in the NFL. The Right Time is brought to you by Firestone Complete Auto Care, keeping cars running newer, longer. Whatever you drive a Firestone. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. You boys been calling in, telling us about the day that you decided, I don't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phones and talk to Chris in Oklahoma. Chris, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, Shannon, really was just calling in about y'all's opinion and wondering, it's not a story about me quitting football. What do you think about keeping the Thursday games to holidays, as in Christmas, Thanksgiving, and fall break, I don't know, and moving them all to doubleheader Monday nights?
Well, the issue with doubleheader Monday night, and I appreciate the call, is anybody staying up that late? Simple as that. Nobody is staying up that late.
Not to mention, if you did that, then you're going to have to move the start time up to 7 o'clock for your first game.
And they don't want that either. No, this is not it. No. Thursday night, and I have all the problems in the world with Thursday night games. Monday night games come with their own issues also in terms of rest and travel and everything else. But Thursday night games, no, they're bad news. They are the ultimate money grab, but just about everybody involved has decided that they're going to bite their lip, go ahead and do what they got to do for that bread. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Kevin Durant this summer. So I have said that I thought Kevin Durant didn't care what people thought. And I guess I needed to be more specific in the sense that I think that Kevin Durant didn't care what people thought to the point of, like, stopping him from doing what he was doing. Like, he made the decision he was going to go to Golden State. People weren't going to like that he was going to go to Golden State, but he was going to do it anyway. So he clearly cares about what he does not care to the point where it's going to interfere with what he wants to do. But, man, he just can't stop going on and on about this, a peep game, right? They're putting out the new Kevin Durant shoes, the KD 10s, and the insole has all the names that people called him after he left Oklahoma City to go play for the Warriors. And then on top of it, it's got like some of his stat lines from the 5 finals games against the Cavs, and it says most valuable player. And people went and bought all these shoes up. And Shannon, doesn't he have he had a cupcake shoe, right? Like, wasn't it a red velvet cupcake shoe?
He had the red velvet cupcake shoe. For those of you who don't remember, the folks in Oklahoma City started calling Kevin Durant a cupcake.
Well, what is he doing? Like, is this helping anything? Am I missing something? Because the problem I think that Kevin Durant has here and where he can't win is all he can do is win, right? Like, all he can do is go to Golden State and win all the games, win the MVP, and play very well and all that stuff. And at every point when he does that, people are going to say a response, that's why you didn't need to leave Oklahoma City. Since you're so good, why'd you have to go play for them? There's no victory for him in this at all. Like, I feel like he keeps taking up this fight, and there's no chance for him. You're not going to be able to please these people. It can't be done. So, like, what did it take for LeBron to get people to get over the fact that he went to go play for the Heat? Because we treat his championships like they are championships. We don't put any sort of asterisk on them in the way that people are doing it with Kevin Durant. But I guess the difference with Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant went to a team that was already built. Like, I think that people could look back on what happened with the Heat and appreciate what was truly revolutionary. They basically had an expansion franchise. Right? They went there. There was no team. Nobody was left. I think the only guys that came back from the year before on that team were like Joel Anthony, Mario Chalmers, Udonis Haslem. Like, nobody really worth a damn came back for that team. So, like, they were basically building where there was no foundation before. And I think that people appreciated that that wasn't nearly as easy as they had believed. It wasn't nearly as easy as LeBron had believed that it would be. But it's hard to make that argument when a team wins 73 games and then you add Kevin Durant. Right, like, it's hard to say that Kevin Durant is the guy that put them over the top, even though I would make the argument Kevin Durant put them over the top because it gave them a second player who could get his own shot. And no matter how good they were in the regular season, you saw what happened in the postseason when they were hamstrung by the fact they only had one guy who could go out there and get his own shot. But, man, he keeps doing all this, man. It does kind of feel like whining just a little bit. Like, yeah, bruh, they called you names. Yeah, bruh, they did all of those things. Either be a villain about it, or you just got to let it slide. Like with LeBron. LeBron tried villain. Villain didn't work. Then he just went kind of on let it slide program. You're not about to be out here, yeah, they called you a traitor. Yeah, they called you all that, bro. They're going to call you all that stuff next year, too. If all you are is a champion, to be the champion is the only thing that matters, then put the champion stuff in there. Because you're not shutting anybody up. Whether you should or should not be able to shut people up is a completely different discussion. I'm just telling you, you're not going to be able to shut anybody up. They made that decision about you, homie. They made that call. They feel like you took a shortcut. And then you took a shortcut and you took less money this year to keep the thing happening, which is then ordinarily, you know, we look at you kindly for taking less money for the squad. Nope. You just made the cut even shorter. Shannon, they looking at him like you so dedicated to the easy way that you paid money for a championship.
Oh, but to your point, though, like, usually don't we praise athletes that continuously take less money? Like Dirk Nowitzki, every time he had to re-up.
We don't.
Huh?
We include me, don't. But, yeah, you're right.
But folks generally will applaud these guys for taking less money to help the team out, you know? So shouldn't that be applauded, right?
Yeah, because ultimately the decision whether or not to applaud has nothing to do with the action and more to do with just whether or not they like you in the first place. That's what it is. And a lot of people decided they were going to be down on Kevin Durant once he made that decision. Also, Shannon, a lot of America really gets charged up about the notion of the small town, right? Everybody wants all the best things in the world for the small town, even though y'all don't want to live in them. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Taking your questions, taking your calls on what made you decide you're going to quit playing football. Let's talk to Sonny in Georgia. Sonny, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
All right, so about my last game of my senior year, had a running back coming around the end. I played nose guard at 5'4" and 165 pounds. So I come running around the end to cut him off. He ducks inside, and the defensive end, that is, hold of his shirt, leg whips me in the back of the knee, blows the knee out altogether. You know, I had more pain from not being able to play football anymore because I was going to go play Division II. But it all worked out because the Lord knew I wanted to be a veterinarian, so he hit me in the knee.
No, that'll do it. I'll tell you this, too. I appreciate the call. One thing that's fun here is hearing the heights and weights of some of these positions in some of these lesser football states. Because I'm from Texas. We ain't putting none of y'all at these positions. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, week 1, we got the film in. We'll talk to Ken Fahey, presnapreads.com, about what he saw on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. There's no better time than right now to protect your family. So if you're like me and have been putting off getting term life insurance, you have to call Select Quote. Here's the Select Quote difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate. But Select Quote gives you options, lots of options. Select Quote shops and could get you up to 15 options from highly rated life insurers. I want you to make the free call today and review your options. Call 1-800-290-0303. Select Quote has been in business since 1985. You should trust them and their licensed U.S. agents because they've already protected 1.2 million families. For example, a 40-year-old male that takes cholesterol medication could get $500,000 in life insurance for under $25 a month. That could be your cost to protect your family. I want you to give Select Quote a call at 1-800-290-0303 or go to SelectQuote.com today for a totally free personal quote. 1-800-290-0303. That's 1-800-290-0303. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Premium could vary depending on your health issuing company and other factors, not available in all states.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at presnapreads.com. Also check him out on the Nickel Package podcast here at ESPN. His name is Ken Fahey. All right, now, Ken, one thing you and I talked about a lot last year was Dak Prescott and his inability to find Dez Bryant. He targeted him 9 times in the last game, only got the ball to him 2 times. What did you think, one, about his attempts to get the ball to Dez and just generally how Prescott looked in the offense?
I thought the attempts to get the ball to Dez were a lot better in this game. I know you can look at the raw numbers of it, but he took shots when shots were meant to be taken, and he had 2 deep throws, one early and one, I think it was the third quarter, that were both going into the end zone where they were well-placed balls. On the first one, Jenkins just played really good coverage, and on the second one, again, Jenkins played pretty good coverage, and Dez just couldn't get off the ball at the end. I thought that game... Actually, more the performance other than the game, but Dak's performance in that game was kind of really interesting because it was kind of tainted a bit or kind of warped the perception of it at the very beginning when he had those 2 wild misses of Dez in the end zone. But after that point, he was phenomenal, and it wasn't that he was like making big throws like I was just talking about, or he was running over people, or he was consistently hitting short roads. It was what he was doing before and at the snap. There was one point relatively early in the game where they hurried up to the line, but they didn't rush the snap. Prescott got everyone into their lineup into the right positions, and he stood there and he surveyed the defense, and he called up the first play. He got back into his stance to receive the ball, and then he kind of... A young quarterbacks typically will do that once and they'll think they've figured it out and they'll go. Whereas Dak got to the top of his drop and stood there and waited and kind of surveyed again and decided to change the play again. Doing a second audible, and it looked like a full-blown audible. Obviously, I can't tell. I'm trying to guess from watching on the sideline. But doing that, and then as soon as the ball got snapped, he looked at his first read, came off his first read in an instant to move a linebacker and hit Bryce Butler on the backside of the play, and Butler dropped the ball. And that was a really, really impressive thing to do mentally. It didn't get anything back because of Butler, but what Dak did there is why he's going to sustain success for a very long time. And I probably won't go into the detail of it. I can if you want, but the Zeke Elliott 30-yard gain later in the play, or later in the game, was a complete setup from Dak doing something pre-snap, figuring out the coverage and knowing exactly where to go with the ball.
Now, how different is that from last season? Because I think you and I were kind of in the same boat where he played well for a rookie, but people got caught up in the win-loss record.
It is different, but the issues with Dak last year were more about his actual placement of the ball. He was still accurate enough, but like we mentioned with Dez, the problem for Dak in his rookie season was he wasn't good at putting the ball into tighter windows. He was good at hitting the wide open throws. It's why Jason Witten and Cole Beasley were featured so much, and he was able to do that because he played behind a great offensive line and because he's really, really smart and he's really patient in the pocket. But this new level, just with that willingness to the composure, the comfort to audible twice after hurrying up, to come off the first read instantly as soon as you see it's not there, and with that Zeke play, that Zeke play, I probably should break it down just because he did everything perfectly on that play, and it was not an easy thing to do. You will probably look at that play, and if you're not like myself, when I watched it casually, I just saw a 30-yard gain, and I saw Zeke Elliott running up and downfield. But when I went back and looked at it, Dak was after setting everything up on the left side, coming back to the right, figuring out what the coverage was based on the movement on that side, and then using his eyes after the snap to keep the safety on the wrong side of the field. So when Elliott got the ball, he was running into wide open space, but that wide open space was because of what Dak had done. It wasn't because the defense blew a coverage or anything like that.
All right, Dr. Kean Fahey, PreSnapReads.com, also the Nickel Package Podcast. Switching gears, how about your man Sam Bradford on Monday night?
Sam has been someone I've always kind of talked up a lot throughout his career because I think he's always been kind of unfairly judged because he's played on such bad teams. Like right now, I think he's got the best wide receiver he's ever had. It's either Thielen or Diggs, and the second best wide receiver he's ever had, Thielen or Diggs, and he has them as a combination. So that's huge. Like before, he was throwing to guys like Austin Pettis and Brandon Gibson and Brian Quick, guys who you probably don't even know at this stage because they're not even in the league. I think Quick is, but he's on the edge of Washington's roster. Bradford, I think the question coming out of that game was it just the Saints defense? If the Saints defense is bad again, but I didn't think the Saints defense played particularly bad. They weren't particularly good, but Bradford was making difficult plays. It wasn't like with Alex Smith a little bit when on last Thursday when he was throwing to wide open receivers because there was blown coverages and mismatches. Bradford was actually fitting the ball into tight windows and delivering it just before he got hit. He did that. The touchdown he had for the early in the game off of play action, that was wide open. But besides that, there was there were many throws against blitzes. There were many throws where he was fitting the ball between an underneath defender with a safety over the top. There's one in particular to Jarius Wright, which is probably going to be the best throw of last weekend, and it might even be the best throw of the whole season because you literally can't see Wright when you see Bradford release the ball.
Have we figured out an appropriate comparison for Thielen yet?
I'm going with Santonio Holmes, which is, but I got a lot of Chris Hogan suggestions. I got a lot of Danny Amendola suggestions, and you know yourself.
But at least he's about the same size as Hogan, though, right? Like at least we could go there. Like I could see that one a little bit.
I think the thing that's different for me with Thielen, and it's why I really, really like him, is he's really flexible and he runs great routes. Hogan's pretty flexible too, but he's a bit more of a guy who's going to lean on a defensive back. He's a little bit bigger and he's a little bit more linear because of that. The beautiful thing with Thielen is, and they've moved him to the slot this year. Last year he played outside, and he's a vertical threat, and he runs great routes, and like that's the stereotypical thing, it's typical thing to say, but he does legitimately run great routes that set him up to break up and downfield. But the beautiful thing about it is, even if he's not open, he can make those adjustments and kind of erase any poor accuracy there wasn't last night. But he can make plays on the ball in the air and against tight coverage, and I don't think Hogan does that as well as him. So if you do want to go down that route, that would be my one main qualm.
All right, we're done to Kean Fahey, PreSnapReads.com, also the Nickel Package Podcast here on ESPN. Let's talk about the Falcons right fast. They went from Kyle Shanahan to Steve Sarkisian. What did you see different in the offense?
It was completely different and not for the good. The first thing we have to do is explain what Kyle Shanahan's offense was. It was a very heavy play-action offense. It used about 22% of Matt Ryan's attempts last year were after play-action, and a lot of them were hard play fakes. Dak was second in the league at about 18%, and then everyone else was around 16% and below. And in that game at the weekend, I think they used play-action maybe 2 or 3 times. They didn't throw the ball deep downfield. But in Shanahan's offense, they used those hard play fakes to throw the ball deep. They would push the ball down to Taylor Gabriel, who was in wide open space, Julio Jones, who can get open on his own. But Shanahan would be able to scheme these guys open. And the very first game, and I know someone mentioned it to me, the Soldier Field might be an issue because it's a slow field, but the way that offense run was completely different. It was 5-yard passes, short yard passes. It was Matt Ryan taking straight dropbacks in the pocket where he has to make tougher decisions and he has to actually mitigate the pressure coming around him. And the only big play they actually created was kind of created outside of structure. It was that Austin Hooper play when he's right down the middle of the field. And it was a very bizarre play because Matt Ryan seemed to lose his balance in the pocket and kind of didn't know where he was going and fell over. But the protection was so good that he could just get back up again and look up. And because he had kind of fallen down, the defenders had lost their assignments and let Hooper run wide open downfield. So you were getting a similar result on that one play, but compared to last season, it was just totally different. There were way too many short throws to Mohamed Sanu with no option for a big play or options after the catch, and that's just not going to be good enough.
All right, last question for Key and Fahey, PreSnapReads.com, also the Nickel Package Podcast on ESPN. Another team that had a change in who's calling plays is Washington. Sean McVay is no longer there, so Jay Gruden went back to calling plays, and it did not look good. What do you think about that one?
You know me, I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan, but I felt that was less about the play caller and more about the absence of Deshaun Jackson, the absence of Pierre Garçon. In that game, in general, that wasn't a well quarterbacked game. The two quarterbacks combined for 1 of 11 deep throws on accuracy, and that was obviously Wentz's touchdown at the start of the game, but Wentz had 3 interceptable passes in that game on deep throws as well. Cousins is... It was the same issues as always. It was if there's anyone within 2 yards of him, he gives up on his feet and the ball goes all over the place. It was trying to throw the ball when he doesn't have his feet set and the ball sailing on him because he doesn't have a strong arm. It was trying to throw the ball to the flat where Jordan Reed... Actually, the game ended when Jordan Reed was just standing on his own in the flat and Cousins threw it to him and it bounced 3 yards away from him and Reed was just standing there dejected, and that had happened a couple of times throughout the game. This is going to be a situation to monitor all year because I do think Cousins is going to be exposed quite a bit now, and there are going to be a lot more games like this where it's obvious. I thought it happened a lot last year, but they could cover it. I think this year it'll be overtly in your face and you won't be able to ignore it.
All right, that's Key and Fahey. Check them out, PreSnapReads.com, also the Nickel Package Podcast here at ESPN. He'll be joining us every week on the right time. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, now, get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Key and Fahey at PreSnapReads.com and the Nickel Package Podcast on ESPN for joining us last segment. George Sedano of ESPN will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. Taking you boys' phone calls about that day you realize, nah, I don't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phones and talk to Bobby in South Carolina. Bobby, thanks for calling the right time. Bobby? Fine, didn't be like that. Al in Atlanta, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right, man.
Yeah, I enjoy your show, Bomani.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I was in high school, right, and I was a wide receiver, and they called an end-around play, and the pulling guard was in front of me, so what happened, the pulling guard missed the block on the defensive end, and he clotheslined me in some kind of way. The buckle on my pants came down. And all my wholesome goodness was showing with my jockstrap on.
That was enough? That was the end?
That's it.
Yeah, I would say, man, I appreciate the call. Getting clotheslined out your pants is enough to make you reassess what it is that you've been out here doing. I can see where that would come from. 888-729-3776, that is our telephone number. Poor Tom Savage. Tom Savage got 31 plays out there. And that includes, a couple of kneel downs in effect, like the last 2 plays at the end of the half. He got 29 plays, 13 pass attempts, no time to throw the ball in any of those attempts. My man's not going to be starting because he's not in a position to save himself. Not in a position to save himself. That's got to feel terrible. Here's Tom Savage talking about how frustrated he is.
I don't think he owes either of us any explanation. We just got to be ready, and it's called being a professional. I don't feel like me wishing ill will on anyone else or not helping someone's going to help me get to where I want to get to. I'm a firm believer in the cream will always rise to the top, and if you do your job and you do it right, you'll be out there. Am I frustrated? Yeah, no one wants to be benched. That's just the way it is, but I'll be ready to go.
Now, one thing about this is you could just say he's just giving your standard speak that you have to give in a situation like that. But, Shannon, didn't the Texans have a quarterback who got benched and actively rooted against the new starter? Isn't that what Ryan Mallett did?
That's exactly what happened.
He's still in the league, by the way. But, yeah, that is what Ryan Mallett did. Worse for the Texans, Brian Cushing. This is going to shock you guys. But Brian Cushing violated the PED policy, and now Brian Cushing will miss 10 games. 10 games. I would think, Shannon, that Brian Cushing was an option at tight end, given that they lost all their tight ends, and now Brian Cushing is gone. So, what happens is either he going to fail his drug test or he going to get hurt. Is that basically the annual thing with Brian Cushing?
Essentially, at this point, yes.
The thing with Cushing is, though, people talked about Cushing being an obvious steroid case in high school. Oh, Shannon, you didn't know that.
No, I wasn't aware.
The rap on him has gone back to high school with people looking at him and seeing there were teams that did not want to draft him because he was an obvious case for PEDs. That was what the thought process is. And now we get to this point where he gets busted again for PEDs. And he's lucky. It's only PEDs. If you'd been smoking weed, wouldn't nobody want to draft you. Wouldn't nobody want to sign you if it was PEDs. I mean, if it was weed. But PEDs, just trying to get a leg up. Somehow that is seen as being – so she had actually trying to cheat is seen as being more tolerable than just trying to get high.
To some, yes, absolutely.
It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. So the wheels have the potential to come off completely for this season for the Texans, right? So how does that go if the wheels come off? They got a general manager and a coach that don't exactly get along. They have an unsettled quarterback situation. J.J. Watt is coming back off the back surgery. We had John McClain on yesterday. He said J.J. looked ordinary, which is something that you have to be concerned about, man, because J.J. Watt is in year 7 now. So as good as he was, he's in year 7 and he's coming off back surgery. Like, we can't assume J.J. Watt's been the best defensive player in the league for that time period that he's been in the NFL. He's been the best defensive player in the league, but you can't guarantee that that's what it's going to be. Now, can you? Yeah, that could go really bad, guys. Oh, and Dwayne Brown still sitting at the crib being like, when y'all going to pay me, bruh? I saw the film. I got all 22. Y'all know what y'all need to do. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We talked a little earlier. C.J. McCollum said he wants to rank journalists. Well, would I be ranked in that? Said the fellow talked to Blue in Idaho. Blue, thanks for calling the right time.
Shit. Hello?
Yeah, man.
Hey, man, what's happening? What it is?
What's going on?
Oh, man. Ooh. Holy shit, I wasn't on hold.
Now you were on hold. Yeah, I think two S-bombs, and we had to go ahead and let him go. Shit, I'm a little disappointed because I wanted to know how Blue wound up in Idaho.
Judging by his call, he was just as surprised as you were.
Yeah, there's a lot of shot going on there. Granted, Blue been on hold for like an hour and a half. But, yeah, I wasn't know how Blue got to Idaho, but Blue be cussing too much. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys been calling in, talking about when football quit you. Let's hit the phone to talk to Chris in Pennsylvania. Chris, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Hey, went to a small high school, didn't have football as an option, but you could play at a nearby school, kind of a co-op. I played baseball and soccer and ran cross country, so I just tried to stay athletic, and had the coach call me my junior year from the nearby town and said, our kicker got hurt. We know you play soccer. Can you come kick for us? Now, I've never played football ever in my life. So I show up to practice on the first day, and the coach is like, you don't even have to come to practice. Just show up to the games and kick. So I thought, this is great. I'm going to get a chance to play. Don't have to go to workouts, nothing. I show up in the first game. The coach didn't tell me that I was never going to get hit. He forgot to leave that part out. So first kick of the game was like a 28-yard field goal attempt that was a botched snap, and I ended up with the ball in my hands. And let's just say I got hit from the top part of my chest and the bottom parts of my knees.
That's unfortunate. I think they cut you off because you know what's coming. Hard net workout.
Check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So first take was out there in Los Angeles. This is going to shock you guys, but LeVar Ball was available to show up and do television. Shannon, apparently he is available for all media appearances except for us.
Yeah, but we get Lonzo and Lonzo. Hey, how'd you feel about that? Yeah, it was good. You know,
how do I not take it personally that LeVar Ball will go on TV or radio with anybody in the world but won't show up to hang out with us, right? Anyway, he got on first take and LeVar did the thing that LeVar does, which is, talk a little bit reckless. Nothing like harmfully reckless this go around, at least not to me. But here is LeVar saying that he thinks, just find out what he expects from the Lakers this year.
What the Lakers gonna do this year, man?
50-plus wins.
You must be. What? What did you just? What did you just say? Wait, have you?
He can fit 50 out of 80 games.
I'm gonna get somebody drug test you.
Stay off
I'm gonna get
time.
somebody drug test you.
Stay off
You must
time.
be crazy.
But you know what?
You must be crazy.
I have to be crazy. How'd I make him go on the Lakers?
Excuse
I'm good.
me.
Told you so.
Listen.
I do a lot
you
of things.
did say that. You did
I
say
do a lot
that.
of things.
So you fixed the ping pong balls too.
You know
That's
what?
what you did. That's what
Don't
you
have
did.
to fix him. I'm so lucky he was going to come up number 2. He's been number 2 all his life. They lined up for him.
Number 2 all his life.
Number 2 all his life.
Who's number 1?
Melo's number 1. You know that.
Oh, Lord.
Melo's number 1, Zoe's number 2, and Jello's number 3. That's the numbers. But you see how
I just don't know what to do with you. You know, I was trying to have a reasonable conversation with you, and you start off the show. You start off your appearance on the show. Talk about the Lakers with Ingram and Julius Randle and Larry Nance. I mean, they're nice young players. 50 wins? 50? Really? And you're going to say that with a stress? And you're going to say that with a stress?
Very easy. And you know how I tell my son how to do it? Every 20 games, you got to go 15-5 at the least. He went over there at UCLA. How many times he lose? He not a loser. He a winner.
Okay, first of all, they call that middle boy Jello. Like, I guess you kind of, you got to have a nickname when you LiAngelo, but Jello? I don't feel like Jello is a nickname. I hope he's in good shape, right? Because if you're not in good shape and they call you Jello, it's like they're not shortening your name. They playing you to your face. He also said 50 games. Yo, I say this right now. No disrespect to the homie Max Kellerman, but you better not show up late for work on the wrong day, because I'll take 5 days a week Stephen A. and LeVar Ball. I will take it. Anybody who's good enough at just hitting that space at Stephen A. that drives him crazy, that is masterful television. Now, of course, we know LeVar, a bit bombastic. That's how he gets down. But listen to what he's got to say about the possibility of LeBron coming to play for the Lakers.
Tell you what, you can start spelling his name L.A. Bron. He'll be here. Because he a businessman. He done did everything in Cleveland. You got to come over here and play with my son.
Oh, your son, not the Lakers. Not the Lakers. Far be it for it to be the Lakers. It got to be your son. Can't be the Lakers.
Hey, it had to be for my son. He didn't come last year. He wasn't even thinking about it. Now you get Lonzo.
He's scoring a lot of points today. He's having a good day.
Yes.
Listen, he can say that.
He ain't talking about coming 2 or 3 years ago.
Excuse me. I like your son a lot. Yes. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for y'all. But I am telling you this. He hasn't played yet, and his daddy opened his mouth and might have cut checks his son can't cash. It's possible. Because your son's got to go up against a whole.
I'm gonna tell you one thing.
Steph Curry. Remember what you said about Steph Curry? Remember what you said about Steph Curry? Do you know what's gonna happen to your son when he goes up against Steph Curry? You don't know.
No, I don't know.
This is foreign to you. Let me tell you something. You gonna be there. You gonna be there in attendance. You gonna be there in attendance. You gonna be there in attendance for that game and watch your son go up against Steph Curry. You know what's gonna happen to him? Do you know what's going to happen to your son when he goes up against Russell Westbrook?
I tell you what, Steph Curry better not go over there and try to guard him. How's that?
Oh, it's like that.
I bet you he won't go over there and try to guard him.
It's like that.
Guaranteed. You will see it.
Dude, that is so barbershop that all that's missing is Max over there waiting to get a fade from a Filipino barber. That is the only thing that is missing there to make that like full-on barbershop situation that they got there. Magic got to be like, yo, man, you got to chill out. Right? Because we do have a chance at getting LeBron James. I think they have a legitimate chance of getting LeBron James. I think LeBron winds up in Los Angeles. My guess would be with the Lakers. Wouldn't shock me if with the Clippers, but my guess is he winds up there with Los Angeles. Yo, you ain't about to be out here making it look like LeBron is running behind your son. That's not how this is. No. Like, I understand why you feel like saying this sort of thing. That's not. No, LeVar. Magic got to be like, hey, man. You got to let LeBron feel like it's his idea. That's the trick behind these things. Also, has anybody gotten us a video of Magic talking to LeVar? Because something tells me that if LeVar feel like he could have beaten Mike in his heyday, you think LeVar think he could have beat Magic in his heyday? Because the problem is Magic 6'9". You think LeVar feel like he had a chance at him? You think LeVar think he could have got him?
Look, he won't say it publicly. He probably don't think so, but he won't say it publicly.
No, I bet he will say it publicly. You know what he say? Magic never could play defense. That's what he would say. But hold on. LeVar wasn't done. You may have seen the ESPN rank. It put Carmelo Anthony at number 64 in the league, 64th best player in the NBA. Put Lonzo at 63, and this is going to shock you, but LeVar doesn't see what the problem is with that.
How in the world did we get here where somebody's talking about a ranking in the 60s? Don't rank me in those 60s. 60 is like 80. He should be mad that he ain't in the top 10.
Your son.
But you know what? No. Carmelo.
Got it.
You talking about you arguing with a dude talking about he's ranked higher than me at 60?
Man, don't rank me in those 60 and think I'm going to worry about it. It's an opinion to keep everybody talking about who should be the best.
Yes.
And you worried about 60 and 63, you worried about the wrong thing. His game is going down on the fact that he's getting older. That's what happens to all the ball players.
But 64.
Don't get mad. 64.
64, Carmelo Anthony, 64. That makes me embarrassed for our network. Somebody did that.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying 30 teams or whatever, 2 on each team.
That's right.
But some teams got 4 and 5 people better than him.
No team got 5 players better than Carmelo Anthony, or even 4. Well, maybe the Warriors.
Well, let's look at the Spurs. Come on. You got to figure out what he's doing. He's been with the Nets.
You guys
He's
made
a
like
good
2 of
guy.
the best
He's a good
teams.
guy. But who going to play with him? He's holding the ball too long.
That's fair enough, but the point
so I'm saying that makes you a better player because you score more points. That don't mean nothing.
Shannon, has Melo tweeted about this yet? Has Melo been made aware?
I'm just waiting on the Instagram post. Hashtag stay Melo. Hashtag hoodie Melo.
I figure Melo going to try to crack on his grill. Like, that's the direction I think that Melo is going to wind up going in. And then tomorrow, Lala going to be on Instagram in a Lonzo jersey.
Like, honestly, what has happened this offseason in terms of Carmelo? Is this all Phil Jackson and the assassination of his character? What has happened here?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think part of it is Phil Jackson and the character assassination. I also think part of it is dogging Melo is a way of big upping Porzingis. Because everybody's got the whole thing, we got to get Melo out of here to make room for Porzingis. And I'm like, how is that going to make things better for Porzingis? Nobody's really giving me a great answer for what that's going to be, like what you really get out of getting Melo out of there. But no, we're at a point where Melo spent a lot of his career being overrated, and now suddenly he is wildly underrated. Wildly underrated. And it's like, you think Melo would have done something to somebody, right? Other thing that makes no sense to me, too. Shannon, how many people out here talking about how Carmelo ain't no good no more, but they love Kyrie Irving, when Kyrie Irving, the demerits against Melo are the same demerits against Kyrie Irving? Right?
Funny how that works. And you would think that Kyrie would get more criticism considering he's supposed to be a point guard.
And a big difference between the two of them, and you can't forget, Melo showed up in the league on a bad team, and they instantly got 20-something games better. Like, sorry, man. Like, I think we're going to reach a point where we're going to get done with this, and years are going to pass, and we're going to look back when Melo gets into the Hall of Fame, and we're just going to be like, okay, maybe we were overreacting just a little bit. Melo had a season where he averaged like 27 points a game and shot 45% from the field, and people are trying to say what's wrong with Melo. And then, LeVar Ball out here popping this. I guess there's no chance that that Lonzo's going to guard Melo, and he better be lucky because Melo going to give him. There's going to be some people that's trying to give Lonzo to work, and it would help if he was a better defensive player, right? All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys been calling up talking about the day you decided, I don't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phone and talk to Pat in D.C. Pat, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, love the show, man. I really been needing to talk about my last day or what ended my football career. All right, freshman year, I played quarterback and second-string free safety. The problem with second-string free safety is everybody else on the defense is also second string. So it's our first scrimmage of the year. I didn't even get to a game. First scrimmage. The first play that I was in on defense, it was a fullback dive. Now, I was proud of myself for reading that and recognizing that. Problem was my D-line, non-existent. The linebackers, I don't know where they went. And now I got a fullback running straight at me with like a 15-yard head start. So I hit him, tried to tackle him. I think he fell just because he, stepped on my chest and tripped, right? So everybody's laughing. The other team's laughing. My coaches are laughing, right? And, it's the next play. So then I noticed it's a scrimmage, right? So they coach you in between plays, and it's not like a game. But this next play happened really fast. Like, we were back at the line ready to go. So I got in my head right away. I was like, oh, they just called the same play again. Like, everyone wanted to see this happen again, right? So I'm ready for it. And what I realized was the kid playing fullback was like a fat kid with speed. Like, it was one of the linemen that they just put out there on their team to test them out on fullback, right? So the next play happens, same thing. My second-string D-line does nothing. I don't even know what the linebackers weren't getting blocked. They just, didn't want any parts of this kid. So it's me and him again. And this time, my pride is hurt. I'm like, man, I'm going to do what I can do to light this kid up. Man, I go at him. I tried to hit him so hard, I closed my eyes. I didn't do textbook. I tried to spear him and it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. And that's kind of like the last thing I remember until I was just looking at this beautiful blue sky. I don't think I looked at the sky all day. It was a beautiful sky. And I never forget my head coach and the running backs coach, who's the defense coordinator, are like looking at me, talking to me, and I can't quite hear him yet. But man, I spent the rest of the whole rest of the scrimmage with my pads off, sitting on the side, and I finished the season, but I didn't play any more defense, and finished my high school career on the basketball team.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. I appreciate the call. I told y'all before about my experience with the fullback dive. I may tell you again after we come back. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, there's a football game this weekend that's a rematch of a game that never happened. Find out what that is on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. George Sedano will join us next segment. George Sedano will join us at 6:30 Eastern. That's the old soul song of the day. Turn it up a little bit. Satisfy My Soul by Bob Marley and the Wailers. There are like 8 different mixes of this. All of them are fire. Hey, nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order a dozen multicolored roses plus an extra bouquet in a vase for just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys been calling in, giving us your stories about why you quit playing football. Let's talk to Andrew in Houston. Andrew, thanks for calling the right time.
Well, what's going on, man?
All right, man.
It's an honor to be on the show, man. He's saying what you and Shannon do.
Thank you,
let me get to my story, man. So I'm in Houston. I'm saying with the Clown Forward, I graduated there.
You said you went to Clown Forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Graduated 2000. Yes, sir. I was there. I was at Rice for a year. Didn't like it there. I went to Louisiana Lafayette. So I'm in Louisiana Lafayette my sophomore year. This is week 2. I forget who we playing. We just got smacked the week before. Locker room ain't really great. Now, our running back, they call him Little He-Man. He's 6'2". That's a man, right? So, first play of practice, they run a sweep. It's a sweep we really need to work on if we want to win. So, he come at me with it. I'm playing free safety. I strip him. I told him, you better get your stuff together. You better come on. He's like, don't talk to me like that. And next play, he comes that way. I do it again. And he tells the offensive coordinator, hey, run that play again. And my heart, I'm like, oh, boy, something's about to happen. I felt it. So, they run the sweep again. He tried to dance on me, hit me a little step. I cut him off. But the next thing I remember, he put his shoulder right in between my 2 and that 4, and I realized he was 6'2", 230. Because the next thing I remember is I remember hitting the ground. I remember hearing people say, oh, my God, I think He-Man killed him. And then I blacked out. Next thing I remember, Bomani, it's 8 o'clock. Practice like at 2. It's at 8 o'clock. I'm in my dorm. It's ice on my head. My D coordinator and my position coach are standing next to, like, one of my homeboys that's on the team. Wondering, is he going to be all right? And I don't remember anything between when I got hit and waking up hours later. And the crazy thing about it was, throughout the year, whenever we were struggling with whatever, I peek in my D coordinator's room. He got that whole loop looking at it over and over again. And when that happened, I was like, man, they ain't going to take me seriously. Let me get up out of here.
Yeah, I never thought about it on that level. I appreciate the call, man. You get hit so hard that you can't trust that your coaches are still going to take you seriously after the fact.
A tough mental game that is.
And, dude, part of why we let people tell these stories is I feel like we ignore how crazy football is until you hear it from the mouths of now civilians who used to think they themselves were football players. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So they say Texas and USC are playing on Saturday. I don't plan to pay very much attention to that football game. I don't even know if it's really going to be a football game as much as it's going to be a massacre. And I don't like seeing young men get hurt. It's not really what I'm into. It's not my bag necessarily. But, guys, did you know that USC says they are 4-0 against the University of Texas in football all time? 4-0. And you may be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, how could they be 4-0 against Texas all time? I watched the greatest college football game ever played when Vince Young on fourth down took it around the right end and took it into the end zone to win the greatest college football game ever played and the greatest performance in a big game in the history of college football as the University of Texas ascended to the top of the college football mountain where they belonged, except for the fact they hadn't been there in 35 years. Anyway, USC is like, what game? That never happened. Because, see, they had this thing with Reggie Bush, right? Remember that? They had this thing with Reggie Bush. And since Reggie Bush was deemed to be ineligible, USC is saying that not only have all their wins from that season been vacated, but also the losses have been vacated. Now, Shannon, what's interesting about it is Texas still gets to count the game as a win. So Texas is 1-4 against USC, but USC is 4-0 against Texas.
Wait a minute. Wait. So you don't have. So you can't count the wins and you can't count the losses. I'm so.
Yeah. Like that's the game they play right now. To be fair though, I'm Team USC about this one, and the reason I'm Team USC about this one is if you insist upon doing this thing where we act like it never happened, then none of it happened. None of it happened at all. They say they got a letter, by the way, that verifies that they're allowed to do this. Right. Anyway, you guys enjoy watching that game. I know 300 yards rushing allowed when I see it. And I watch USC play that game against Stanford, and I watch these games that Texas has played this year, and Shannon, that looks like 300 yards rushing coming straight up the gut against Texas.
I got faith, okay? I got faith in Todd Herman. Todd or Tom? Is it Todd? Tom?
It doesn't matter to me
I got
anymore.
faith in Coach Herman, all right? He's going to turn this thing around. He's not going to be able to like sprinkle fairy dust on it. It's going to take some time. We got to come up with a name for this Texas rebuild. All right, we can't say trust the process. It's already been done. We got to come up with a catchy name for this and just trust that he's going to turn everything around.
I'll tell you, I got a name for it. You better hurry up. How's that work? That's what I feel about the rebuild. You better hurry up.
A picture of someone looking at their watch.
Yeah. Here's the name for the rebuild this year, 10 wins. That's the name of the rebuild, 10 wins. They're not going to win 10 games. Just don't lose. I don't like talking about college football anymore. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, does anybody in Los Angeles actually care about the Chargers? Well, that's George Sedano of ESPN Radio on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Handcrafted, it's all the rage. From flour pressed soap to homemade hot sauce to artisanal pickles, whatever those are. Well, Firestone Complete Auto Care is glad it's catching on because they've been handcrafted repairs since 1926, and their 4,000 ASE certified technicians work hard every day to help keep cars running like new. Before people were making organic greeting cards and rock jewelry in their basements, Firestone Complete Auto Care has been hard at work in the garage, tightening, torquing, wrenching. And they back that work with their fixed right promise, guaranteeing your car is fixed right, your repair is priced right, and the work is completed right on time. Keep your car running newer, longer, because when your car is running right, so are you. Take advantage of the bonus savings day event and get $100 off any purchase of $500 or more. Whatever you drive a Firestone. Offer valid September 14th through 17th. In-store installation required. Maximum savings $100. $50 minimum purchase required for tiered offer. See store or driveafirestone.com today for full details.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out on Mornings with Keyshawn George and LZ, ESPN 710 on the radio in L.A. His name is George Sedano. All right, George, you voted on the ESPN rank. Where did you vote, Mello?
See, it's weird, right? We didn't actually rank them like 1 through 100 or whatever. basically it has like the way it's done is it pairs two guys against each other. And you have to, let's just say, for example, it's you pick between Goran Dragic and Carmelo Anthony, and you pick who you think is better. And then you have to go through a series of these, hundreds of them, until eventually, and it'll keep going as long as you want to go. And then that's how they kind of tabulate who's better than who. That's how it's done. There's this kind of like weird theory, and statistical analysis that's done based on the way people vote.
Now, you tell me this. Who's got a bigger beef? Melo at 64 or Dwayne Wade not on the list at all?
I mean, Dwayne Wade not on the list at all is pretty ridiculous. Listen, at the end of the day, I know he shot 43% last year, which is a career low, but averaged 18, 19 points a game, and his game has slipped. But to not have him in the top 100 is completely absurd. So, look, I may go with my Miami bias there, as I grew up there, as you know, and may lean toward Dwayne in that situation. But Melo's is completely disrespectful, too. I mean, you can't put a dude who hasn't stepped foot on an NBA court in a regular season game ahead of him. Like, that's absurd to me.
We're talking to George Sedano of ESPN Radio in Los Angeles. And see, Melo, I'm trying to figure out what it is that we've done to Melo, right? Like, at once we think that Phil Jackson was ridiculous, but we're acting like everything Phil Jackson said about him was true.
Yes, we are acting that way. And look, there's been some decline to his game, okay? He had the worst efficiency rating he's had since his second season back in 04, 05 or whatever it was. So, look, but that's deterioration that anybody would have at a certain age in the NBA, and he's had some injuries that have accumulated as well. But here's the thing. Here's what I'd tell you, Bo, and this thing is about projecting what the guy's going to be this season, okay? That's what this vote is supposed to be. How do you expect player X to be in the 2017-18 season? Where do you rank him and such? And I would say this. I don't know about you, but I don't think Carmelo Anthony is going to be on the Knicks much longer. I think he's going to be a Houston Rocket. And there are things that I see in his game, even last year, as he was not performing to Melo standards, that I think will help him. His three-point shot went down at about a 36% clip. That's still higher than his career average. And he's going to be playing in a Mike D'Antoni system that, yes, he didn't necessarily vibe with in New York, but his point guards there were Jeremy Lin and Raymond Felton, okay? Not necessarily household names, even though they're good players in the NBA. He'll be playing with James Harden and Chris Paul, who will be able to get him easier buckets. Has there been deterioration on the defensive side for him? Sure, but they're not getting Melo for his defense, and we know Mike D'Antoni ain't getting anybody for his defense.
But I also feel like Melo gets no slack for the fact that he's been playing in a train wreck, right? So when we talk about Porzingis and what didn't go right for him last year, we'll say, but it was a disaster, right? Melo's in the same disaster.
Of course, 100%. We are giving Porzingis the benefit of the doubt because he's the 7'3" unicorn, as Kevin Durant called him, and he's, 20 years old or whatever it is. But this is what we do. We've piled on Melo for a long time now. And look, I've been guilty of it, okay? But last year, I went the other direction. I'm like, at some point or another, we're just doing this dude dirty. And I did the same thing with Tony Romo in football. Like, I just felt like everybody was piling on him constantly. And I'm there with Melo. I arrived there last season, and now I think we've just hit the level of absurdity.
Plus, that man got enough going on in his life right now, right?
Right, exactly. He's got personal things, man. Leave that dude alone.
We're talking to George Sedano of ESPN Radio in Los Angeles here on The Right Time. So you're in Los Angeles. We're just curious. Is Los Angeles caught up in Charger fever yet?
Man, listen, dude. The Chargers, people don't even know where to find the Chargers on radio. They don't know where to go to the games. They can't sell out a 30,000-seat stadium in the preseason. The Chargers have no fan base here, Bo. Now, look, people will say, but they've got a chance to kind of gain some fans in the new generation. That takes years, generations to do that kind of stuff. The Rams, Bo, are struggling here, and they at least have a history. Now, granted, it was in Anaheim, not so much Los Angeles, but there was at least a history. But when you have a 21-year void of NFL football, what you get is this, and I've gotten a lot of this from people who are native Angelinos. Man, for the last 20 years, I've been able to watch the best games at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Pacific. And now I'm getting the Chargers and Rams, and that's what the feeling is around here.
All right, now the Rams looked great in Week 1. If they got on a roll, do you think L.A. could get on board?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody gets on a roll, but what's a roll? Like, I think that nobody really thinks that this team's going to be any good. They played an awful Colts team that you and I could sit here and dissect how they've mismanaged that thing with Andrew Luck at quarterback. And obviously we see how painful it is when he's not at quarterback. But, yeah, they beat a bad team, a team they should have blown out. There's a sense of hope, I guess, for the future because Sean McVay's here, and our colleague Ryan Clark told me and Keyshawn and LZ that in Washington they used to call him the Doogie Howser of offense. So there's hope in that regard. But what I would say to you is this is all about Jared Goff this season. And if he can be any semblance of a decent quarterback, they'll probably keep him. But if he can't play like a quarterback that they felt was worthy of the number one pick, then they're going to move on because Sean McVay knows that if you're a coach, you're married to the quarterback. So to me, that's what this is all about.
All right, we're talking to George Sedano of ESPN Radio in L.A. here on The Right Time. So you mentioned briefly, we talked about this with the with the ESPN NBA rank vote about Melo being below a guy who has not played a game. That guy would be Lonzo Ball. What do you think about LeVar saying that team's going to win 50 games?
I thought look, that's a funny statement, right, that they won 50 games. Did you hear Stephen A's reaction to that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was actually the funniest part of the whole thing. But yeah, I had a very similar reaction. But listen, man, we've had these conversations here on the show with you. Like LeVar is just LeVar, man. Like he's just gonna say stuff, and you know what? In his mind, he's gonna speak it into existence. That's the phrase he likes to use. But he's lost his mind. This team is a 34-35 win team in a deep Western Conference. So yeah, look, I love it. The hype is big, man. It's real. It's tangible, Bo. We saw our numbers in L.A. on the radio grow tremendously. Once Summer League came aboard and he was playing games, and those games didn't mean anything. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when he takes the court in his first preseason game on September 30th and beyond. The hype is real. People buying it. I think the kid's going to be a really good player in this league. But, yeah, I mean, LeVar is just being LeVar.
Well, is he also messing up the game saying that LeBron's going to come play with Lonzo? Like, LeBron's got to be like, bro, ain't nobody coming to play with no Lonzo.
Yeah, I mean, listen, though, I was there that day in Vegas, Bo, when he showed up to the Laker game, okay? Like, LeBron was there, and he didn't show up to any other game but the Lakers. So, I mean, say what you want. Maybe LeVar knows something we don't.
All right, that is George Sedano. Check him out. Mornings with Keyshawn, George, and LZ on ESPN 710 in L.A. Not even alphabetical order. How you wind up in number 2, bro?
That's a good question. I don't know. I need to talk to my agent about that because I sure as hell shouldn't have been number 2. I'm driving the damn show. I should at least be the first name.
I'm telling you this. If Keyshawn had been number 2, his agent definitely would have made a call.
No question about it. Absolutely.
All right, man. You take it easy.
You got it, Bo. Take care.
All right, now, did you know that you can take the NFL with you wherever you go thanks to the TuneIn app? No matter where you live or what team you love, TuneIn brings you the home and away call for every game live. Download the TuneIn app and listen live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to George Sedano of ESPN Radio for joining us last segment. Thanks to Kean Fahey of PreSnapReads.com and the Nickel Package Podcast for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Thanks to Pablo Torre for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time Podcast available on the ESPN app. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. All right, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, this ESPN NBA player ranking has really rubbed a couple of NBA players the wrong way. It really got under their skin. One including C.J. McCollum of the Portland Trailblazers, who was upset about it and tweeted about it and said, well, maybe we should start ranking some of these whack media members. Well, that wasn't an exact quote, but you get the gist. Well, if you haven't heard, here's Bomani Jones earlier today on The Right Time discussing the rankings and where he would rank in a media ranking list.
I would like to see like a ranking of where the players would have the journalists.
You in the top 100, Bo?
I feel like I should be in the top 100. The 100, like top 100? I think I should be in the top 100. I feel like I should be. You think I'm top 100? Let's make a poll out of that. Is Bomani a top 100 sports journalist?
No, even better. Would you be higher than 64? If we did the top, top media member poll ranking,
am I the Melo? Like that's what you try to figure out. Am I the Melo of this? That is I feel like I should be top 64.
But it's a follow-up question though. Like, who would you be which NBA player would you be if we were doing a media ranking?
I mean, I'm just curious, Shannon. Is there any like multifaceted NBA player who has had immediate impacts when he has shown up places. Was very good when he was very young and keeps getting older and hits his prime and continues to be good in spite of the fact that very often people fall off in moments like these. Does that sound like anybody? Also has a hairline that doesn't do the things that it should. Does that sound like anybody to you? Who does that sound like?
Wait a minute here.
Who does that sound like to you?
Wait a minute.
That doesn't sound like anybody to you? Is there anybody? Is it familiar? Or Shannon, incorrect. How about somebody really tall, really skinny, with a lot of range, the ability to take it to the hole when necessary, who very recently made a move into a new situation so that he could perhaps win championships? Got that quick release. How about that?
Has an affinity for University of Texas?
Boom! That's what I'm saying. Who else do I remind you of?
All right, so we went ahead in our Twitter poll.
Hold on, I thought about somebody else.
All right, go ahead.
Kind of tall. Could be an all-star at all 5 positions. Anyway, keep going.
Does he speak Greek?
What's that?
Does he speak Greek?
No. He runs a franchise.
Moving on. Our Twitter poll today on the right time was, of course, if we ranked media members as C.J. McCollum suggested, would Bomani Jones make the top 100? And we had over 2,300 folks who went out and voted. So thank you very much for doing so. And 77% of the voters said yes, Bomani would make the top 100.
What percent?
77.
Something out of the 23.
77.
You know what the other 23 people do? Listen to this show every day.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on. Well, apparently Odell Beckham's gimpy ankle wasn't that bad. Last Thursday, according to the New York Post and their sources, Odell Beckham was seen at a Catch NYC anniversary bash, and he was there, so was Russell Westbrook, and apparently the two were battling each other. And Amon Shumpert was there because he was there with his wife, and they were cheering the duo on.
I need to see the video of the Russell Westbrook. Forget about the injury component of it. The Russell Westbrook, Odell Beckham dance battle, like they need to put that on Superstars, or Dance with Battle of the Network Stars, one of those.
Tell you right now, I don't know who won, but I bet you Russ didn't lose.
No.
You think he going to let somebody else beat him at this?
Well, you think Odell going to let anybody beat him at dancing? In fact, that's why. In fact, to be fair, Odell probably wasn't doing too much until it became clear that it was a dead heat, and then he's like, "I'm gonna dance till I can't walk."
See, there's a difference because I think Odell wanted to win this. Russ wasn't gonna lose this. There's a difference between wanting to win and not losing.
It's very interesting how Russ gives you much more old school vibe. Odell gives you much more new school vibe, but they're kind of the same dude in a lot of ways, right? Although Russ ain't never come out here with that crazy haircut.
Well, he didn't. He never bleached his hair, but he had some interesting cuts there.
What? Russ had the same haircut I can think of.
He had he went through that one stretch. We had the fro hawk type deal. It wasn't that high though.
Yeah.
He couldn't
That's
grow
right.
it.
That's right.
Reminds me of the time when I tried to go cornrows that 2-week stretch. It didn't quite. Not all the way. I couldn't fully invest in the cornrow growing out process.
You couldn't deal with the in between, could you? That's all it was.
I felt so uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. Do I pick it? Do I brush it? I'm a waves guy, so I'm used to brushing it. So what do I do? It was like hair purgatory.
Yeah, that in between is the hardest part. You just got to push through.
Last but certainly not least, I know we're running short here. But what do you think about this one dude who has who had the GoFundMe page, raised $10,000 to have a billboard near StubHub bashing the Chargers?
Why? Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to see it. They're going to have 15,000 people at the game. Ain't nobody going to see that. You wasted your money. But, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon, Cliff, Devin, thanks so much. Jalen Jacoby, Phil Yates, and Jeff